Hello and welcome and happy October! My name is Gabriel, and today I'm going to be talking about all of the books and plays that I read in September, as well as what I plan to read in October. It is currently 9 p.m. and I'm drinking coffee to make up for the one that I forgot this morning. And you know how, old people say, don't talk to me until I've had my second cup of coffee? I think that's happening to me because every single morning of my life, I make myself a cup of coffee and I'm fine. I like to tell people that caffeine doesn't really affect me. And today I found out that that is not true. I had 3 separate people come up and tell me that I look really tired. Do you agree? I got all dolled up for this video, so you better not. Really quick, I want to thank you guys for 500 subscribers. I'm a little late on this thank you because I think right now we're closer to 530-ish. But that's just a lot of people to be sitting around listening to me talk about books. So thank you for being here, for watching, liking, commenting, caring what I have to say. So I only read 3 books in October, but that is because I had to read a ton of plays for various classes. I'm going to talk about a few of those today, just the ones I remember that are my favorites. But we are going to start off with the novels I read. First up is a big one. It is one that has been requested many a time in my comments, by 3 people maybe. But that is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I've avoided this one for a long time because I'm a bit of a hipster. And it just seems like everybody on Earth loves this book, and so I was like, well, it doesn't need me to love it as well. But I realized that's stupid, and so I picked up a copy, and it's beautiful. Guys. So, Normal People by Sally Rooney is about Mary Ann and Connell, who are high school seniors at the start of the book in a small town in Ireland. And it follows them as they enter this sort of situationship, and as they fall in and out of one another's lives over the next few years. So, I'm going to talk about this book much more in a video that I have planned in a couple weeks, but I was struck right away by how, funny and clever the writing is, and I was just hooked from page 1. And within the first chapter, I was laughing out loud in my living room. This book kind of became my personality for the time that I was reading it. I think that it just, holds up a mirror to my own youth, and I'm forced to look at all of the awkwardness and beauty and comedy and mortification that comes with this exact moment of my life that I am living through. I think that she does a fantastic job of externalizing everything that is internally happening in my mind. And I know that I am not the only person who feels that way about this book. It is deeply beloved by many, many people. A critique that I see directed at this book a lot is at Sally Rooney's writing style, because she doesn't like to use quotation marks to differentiate dialogue from prose. I loved it, however. I think that it's just as easy to follow without the quotation marks, and I thought that it emphasized the fact that what these characters don't say is just as important as what they do. And that's a huge theme of this book, and I thought it was brilliant how it's emphasized by the very structural formatting of the actual text. It's brilliant. I gave this 5 stars. Next up is Memoirs of My Melancholy Whores by Gabriel Garcia Márquez. And this book surprised me. It has a very captivating narrative voice and such passionate, sensual language. The plot is pretty concerning, so bear with me on this. Memories of My Melancholy Whores is about a 90-year-old man who on his birthday decides that he wants to have sex with a virgin. And it follows the romantic relationship that forms between him and a 14-year-old girl. And that relationship is at no point examined in the way that you would expect or hope for it to be. So, with this book, obviously, Márquez respects and trusts his readers enough to know that this is fiction. These are not real people who are engaging in this relationship. And I think once he establishes that boundary, he uses these characters to explore other themes. Instead, we get a really beautifully constructed story about this aging man's life being transformed through his entanglement with youth. I know that the story, the actual facts of what goes down in this book, is going to turn a lot of people off of it. I fully respect that. I understand it. But just compositionally, on a prose level, this is one of the most beautifully constructed works of prose I have ever come across. It's really incredibly done. I've been working through a lot of really uncomfortable books this year, and I think that those served as kind of a primer for me being willing to accept this story as it is. Like, the book doesn't ever at any point claim that it's about good people or that what is happening is right. It's just kind of your responsibility as a reader to, like, decide if you are willing to accept what he is trying to explore rather than just turn it away at face value. I'm really struggling with this one because it's difficult to digest, but it is just so beautifully written. Like, I can't believe that this exists. It feels like he painted a doorway into another world and I was just living amongst these people and like breathing the same air. It's like got a fantastic atmosphere. Oh, I'm very excited to try more of Márquez's work. I own copies of Chronicle of a Death Foretold and Love in the Time of Cholera, and I will be getting to those very soon. And then the third and final novel that I finished in September is Beautiful World, Where Are You? By Sally Rooney. This is Sally Rooney's newest book. It is about Alice and Eileen, who are two friends from college, both of whom are writers, although Alice has found a great deal of success and fame from her first two novels. And it follows them over several months as they email each other, updating one another on their lives and about global politics and current events. I think that it's really beautifully constructed and emotionally moving, and it had a lot of really great discussions of like love and art and impending global catastrophe. Like, at its heart, this book is about like how silly it can feel to go about your little life worrying about your friendships and the people that you have a crush on when like the world is actively in the process of ending around you. But ultimately, this book concludes that those little relationships and the people that you love and who love you are why everything else matters. There's a lot of romance in this book that I wasn't really expecting because normal people could be described as a romance. It's about two people who like really deeply love each other. But it's more of a character study. Whereas this book has two like clearly defined couples and they kind of fall into specific romance tropes, like the friends to lovers and then like the bad first date. This book also has a lot of sex scenes, and that's fine. There were sex scenes in Normal People that were really beautifully done. And the ones in here aren't badly done. There's just like a lot of them, and they're like a lot more explicit than they were in Normal People and like what I was expecting. And, like, this book gets pretty deep in terms of its discussions of, like, global politics and climate change and, like, communism. And so on one page, Alice will be talking about, like, how the existential horror of inhabiting the imperial core, knowing that every moment of pleasure you experience is bought with the human suffering of millions of people in underdeveloped countries. And then on the next page, she's, like, getting fingered. Again, I'm going to be talking about this book in a later video, so I won't go on too long about it. I liked it. I gave it a very solid 3 stars. Next, I'm going to be talking about a book that I tried to read in September, and that is Antkind by Charlie Kaufman. So this, like, 800-page monstrosity is about a man who stumbles upon a stop-motion picture that is 3 months long, and he accidentally destroys it and decides to devote the rest of his life to recreating it frame by frame. It sounds bonkers, and it is just as insane as you would expect, but I was really unfamiliar with Charlie Kaufman's style. I had never seen any of his movies, and so the tone of this book just threw me for a loop, and I was working way too hard on it, and I just gave up because I wanted to read shorter, more fun things. Sorry, Charlie. It is October, and I think that this has a very good, like, eerie, spooky vibe to it, so I might try to get to it after I finish some of the other things that I'm planning to read. But that is it for this book. I'll talk about those other ones in a moment. Up next, I'm going to talk about some of the plays that I had to read for my various theater classes. Up first is In the Next Room, or The Vibrator play by Sarah Ruhl. This play is set at the turn of the century at the advent of electricity, and it follows a male doctor who is treating various patients who have been diagnosed with hysteria. The way that he is treating them is by sexually pleasing them with a vibrator. This play is hilarious, but also so, like, powerful and tender in a way that I wasn't expecting. I'm a big fan of Sarah Ruhl's work. I've seen her play Eurydice, done at a couple theater companies, and I'm just really excited to read more of her stuff. Then I read I and You by Lauren Gunderson, which is a play I read in high school, but I was required to reread it for an acting class now, and I adore it. It's about two high schoolers who are working together on a project about Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. It's really beautiful and easy to find online as a free PDF if you just want to, like, Google it. Next is Circle Mirror Transformation by Annie Baker, and it is about a group of people from a community taking an acting class together. And it uses like theater games and acting exercises as a way of externalizing what is happening in their interior emotional lives. The fourth play I'm going to mention I did not read in a class, but it is just so baffling. The play that I'm talking about is The Emperor and the B-Boy by Horatio Colony. I read this because a friend and I were in a local used bookstore and he found this book and it just sounded really bizarre. So he bought it and went home and read it, and then I read it, and I have no clue why it exists. So The Emperor and the B-Boy is about Emperor Nero, and he is gifted a B-Boy, a like little child who is half human, half bee. He's like a 4-foot tall, fuzzy, golden B-Boy. And it's like a lot happens in the play, but I think that the main plot is that like there are some people within Nero's court who are trying to get Nero's wife to cheat on him, and they push different people towards her. But it ends up with the B-Boy having a sexual relationship with Poppaea, the like empress, and it's extremely weird. Nobody on Earth has read this play, okay? I've Googled it. There is no evidence of production photos anywhere. Nobody has done it. When I looked it up on Goodreads, nobody has read it or reviewed it. I am the first person in the history of Goodreads to read The Emperor and the B-Boy by Horatio Colony. He doesn't have a Wikipedia page. I feel like, I said this in my Goodreads review, I feel like God sent this play specifically to like torment me. Like, it doesn't feel like something that's real or publishable. What more is there to say? Let's talk about my October reads. So, right now I am reading Dark Tales by Shirley Jackson. This is a collection of short horror stories. There is one singular reason in the universe that I bought this book, and it is that the foreword was written by Ottessa Moshfegh. That's it. That's why I bought it. I've read a couple of them so far, and they're really interesting. I can definitely see why Moshfegh was, like, thought of to introduce this collection, because they're just, like, really bizarre, like, eerie stories. So I will be working through this slowly this month. Also, I need to read Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead by Tom Stoppard. This play is a kind of spin-off of Hamlet. I hear about it constantly, but I've never read it. But my friend Nick and I are like trading books to read right now, and this is up next. Next, I have my big project for October, which is House of Leaves by Márquez Danielewski. I don't know what this is about, guys. I know it's like hugely popular right now. It's a horror book about like a house that is bigger on the inside. I'm doing this as a book club with a lot of my friends in real life. And I kind of just picked it up because they were reading it and I wanted to be a part of it. But now it's like time for it to start. And I'm terrified of it. Whatever. I might love this. I've heard a lot of people say that it's like the scariest thing they've ever read. And I don't know, I'm always looking for a book that makes me feel something, anything, for the love of God. I should have started this already. I'll get to it. And that is everything. I was going to do a little book haul, but then I started looking at all of the books that I've bought in the last couple months, and it wouldn't be very little, I have to say. It would be a pretty decent book haul. So I might make that its own video. I think you've caught on by now since I read Normal People and Beautiful World, Where Are You? I am working on a Sally Rooney video. I have one more of hers to read, which is Conversations with Friends, and it's currently on hold at my local library. So, I will probably read that in the next week. Don't hold me to it, though. That's everything that I wanted to talk about today. Comment down below your thoughts on any of these books and let me know what you've been reading lately. If you liked this video, give it a big thumbs up and hit subscribe, as well as the bell icon so you get notified every time I upload. I will see you guys next time.